here to discuss all things NRL and anything sports related. Please give a warm Aussie g'day to the footy fanatic and America's own Corey Jackson in Outside the Sheds.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome back to Outside the Sheds. Shedheads, if you feel that energy in the room, the boom, the Gordon Tallis right cross to the chin, that exuberance that we're talking about is around, that's getting ready to come and fill our televisions, fill our vocal cords, fill our minds, fill our eyes, and that is what's about ready to go down in Brisbane. But before we go into that, Shedheads, we've got to go back. We've got to go way back to 4 to 5, 6 days ago. All right, let's start there. Because we've got to complete round 10 before we go to round 11 and celebrate by drinking a couple of schooners on the Claxton Street. We've got to do that. We've got to put in the work first. And that's what the great ones will do. And guess what? That's what your Shedadamas is going to do right now. So let's go back to round 10. A round that I'm going to say, Shedheads, as we talk about it and go to recover it, is a round that's going to be known for the back of the leg. But before we go to that, also, let's finish these scores. Starting off the round, Dolphins 30, Seagulls 24. The Finns preserve. That's all you can say. They hold on. They play that Wayne Bennett style of footy. And no matter how many ghost head high contact calls to Turbo, they still win. And that I got to tell you something. That's the most exciting part about Wayne Bennett and what he brings to a team, and that's the ability for them to slow the game down and to play through it. Now, before we can say anything more about how great the Finns were, we've got to talk about Turbo going down again. And I don't want to say this could be the end of, Tom Turbo Trbojevich's career, but you can only have so many hamstring injuries before that rubber band just starts to go, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And you hope that's not what's getting ready to happen in this young man. But how many years now, how many seasons have we dealt with leg injuries with Tom Trbojevic? It showed its ugly head again, a horrible scene. And the funny thing about it wasn't like Turbo was trying to explode and go, down the Corso. Anyway, he went and tried to make a tackle. It looked pretty nonchalant. And all of a sudden he's Johnny Tremaining it off the field, not being able to put any type of flex through the toe, through the back. It was horrible to see. And I know people aren't going to talk about it much, but the Jason Saab injury is also a major, major, major blow for Manly. And Manly is starting to get to that point where they're starting to think, here we go again? I don't know. But again, a great victory for the Dolphins. We're going to talk about this match a little bit later on, but a great, great, great showing once again for Clint Eastwood's fellas. Panthers 16, Bulldogs 10. The Doggy showed a lot of growth, and you have to say that Cameron Ciraldo is starting to get and put his stamp, his footprint on this Dogs team. Gus Gould, is behind the scenes with this whole thing as well, too. But they still didn't have enough. The champs are the champs for a reason. And you just, if it wasn't for Nathan Cleary once again pulling up with that word again, the hamstring, it's again another incredible performance by the Penny Panthers. Besides them missing out on David Fifita, a great week, but then you have the backside that really made it tough for this team, and they're really going to have to rely on Jerome Luai. I don't think Schneider's playing this week either, so their halves are in a little bit of flux. But again, that's why the Panthers are the best team in the competition right now, because they can lose players time and time again through injury, through moving on to other clubs. Ask the Bulldogs that. It was almost like old home week in this matchup with all the Bulldogs that were, ex-Panthers. So a great victory again. That defense is just stellar. Brian Tahoe blows me away every time he runs the ball, but a big, big victory. But the Dogs did show that they could be coming sooner than later. Broncos 30, Eels 14. Dean Mariner sails, you like that? Sails the Broncos home with 2 tries. And you got to feel for Parramatta, they try and try and try. It's just that they don't have enough to go a full 80. They can play tough for 60, but with the troops they have left, they just don't have it in them to go a full 80 with some of the clubs they're going up against. Good news for the Bronx. They're going to get back Jock Madden and the Habs to pair with Ezra Mam this coming week for Magic Round. But the Broncos continue to go. They continue to march forward. We know they're going to lose some key components and key players in a couple weeks for Origin. But that's why they have to get the wins in now that they are. So, again, big victory. Knights 20, Tigers 14, 3 on the trot for the Kalen Ponga-less Newcastle Knight Hunter boys. It really makes me love Newcastle more and more. That they lose their marquee sports car and they turn into a Ford F-150 pickup and just do it dirty, right? They just go out there and find a way to manipulate the scoreboard that when the final hooter goes off, Knights are in the victory column. Because it's never pretty. It's never flashy. Look at Jackson Hastings, a player that I really, really enjoy watching. But there's nothing flashy about Jackson Hastings. Nothing. Not a good haircut. 2 different type of socks on. He's not flashy, but he's a winner. That's all you can say, and that's why I love watching the guy, because of his limited athletic ability. And this isn't saying anything bad, Jackson Hastings, because you're a Golden State Warriors fan, and I like that too. But what I'm saying is he's not blazing speed. He's not Nathan Cleary. He's not, just rocked up muscle-wise, anything like that. As the boys would say, he doesn't have a rig on him. But he's a winner. He makes the kicks when he needs to. He makes the cutout pass when he needs to. He makes the short pass when he needs to. And that is kind of what the Newcastle Knights really are. And I think that's why under Adam O'Brien, they play well when Kalen Ponga is not in the lineup. It's not saying that KP doesn't add a strike when he's in the team, but what they do when he's out is they rally the wagons. They pull everything in. They go simple, and they know what their, how do I say this nicely? They know what their cap is for each player, and they know they have to push it to that, right? And they do it time and time again. 3 on the trot, and you have to say with their matchup coming up this week, they have a very good chance to make it 4 on the trot. So good victory for the Knights. Tigers still trying to find their way. They keep losing players. I don't know. I love Benji. I love what he's trying to bring to the club. I don't think we need Richie to be sending out any more love letters to the fans. I think the fans for the Tigers have dealt with enough losing now lately. I don't need, you nibbling at my ear to tell me it's going to get better. But they just kind of have to persevere. It sounds like Adam Dewey's going to be back in a month or so. So that'll be interesting to see how the Habs pairing goes when that happens. I do think they miss Aiden Caesar big time. And he's not coming back anytime in the near future. He's got a few weeks left on the bench for that suspension. So it's an uphill battle for the West Tigers, but they should be used to that by now. Dragons 28, Rabbitohs 14, Latrell's return, and still another loss for the Bunnies. Just not enough. The Dragons really didn't have to put together their best game, but they get the victory. And it really makes you look, with the good news coming up on the horizon, which we're going to hit at the 40-20, maybe that's a positive spin that they can do. But it's just turning into that season no one saw coming. And the Rabbitohs struggling. And then you have another racist idiot saying things in the crowd to make the matters even worse. Thank gosh that guy he's getting nailed up to the side of the building right now so everyone can throw eggs and trash at him. Because trash deserves trash. But that being said, Rabbitohs still go down, and you just don't really see an end in sight. Sharks 25, Storm 18. The match of the round, as we talked about last week, it blows me away when you watch these new young guns coming up. They just keep producing. And when word came down that Nico Hines was going to be out because of a little bit of a slight calf strain, you're just like, uh-oh. But the Sharks did something they haven't done for a while. They get a big victory over top four side. We're going to go over that because I want to cover these two big matches between these two teams that are in the upper half of the ladder. But they find a way to go down to Melbourne to get the victory. 25-18. Sharks still do it. Up Cronulla. Roosters 38. Warriors 18. The Chooks continue to make fodder to the rest of the competition right now. Shedheads, if you have not seen the first 20 minutes of this Roosters-Warrior match, I challenge you to find it no matter what platform you have to go find it. It was something to behold. Not much leaves me speechless. I do a podcast for Christ's sake. For criminy sake, too. I'm sorry if I offended. But what I'm saying is that was gold. That's all you can say. That was pure gold the first 20 to 25 minutes of that game. Mrs. Shedadamas, who was not anywhere close to me as I'm watching the match, the next day I told her, I'm like, I don't know what I just experienced watching because that was the best performance I've seen from a team for a long time. And I know we could probably say the last 20 minutes of the grand final last year with the Panthers and Cleary putting the team on his back. But this wasn't just one guy putting his team on his back. This was just a locomotive going 90 miles per hour down the track, and a VW bug tried to park on the track to slow it down. Didn't happen. Unfortunately, on the other side of the coin, you look at the Warriors, a club that I had in the top four, a club that some people had going to the grand final, and they're in trouble. They're in big, big trouble. Sean Johnson is out, going to miss the next couple of weeks with that pec injury that he had. I don't really know what the Warriors were thinking leaving him in, because you hope that the physio, the doctor looked at it and said that strain, there was no way that Sean was going to be able to do any type of tear or any further damage to it, because I don't know why you leave Sean Johnson on the field when he's going that way, when he's hurting like that. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And I'm not calling the Warriors physio crew or anything into, putting him over the fire or whatever you want to say. But to me, it made no sense because they were not going to come back and win that game. They did show some heart in the second half and did put a few tries together. But Sean Johnson was not going to lead a comeback in the condition he was in. You watched him at halftime getting taped up. The look on his face was like, I just got to get through this last 40 minutes. And he didn't even play the last 40 minutes. What did he play, the last 30 minutes? They pulled him off finally. But it really makes you wonder how much of panic mode that the Warriors are in right now. RTS isn't back till I think round 17. I think that's what I read. So they're in a real dilemma. So we'll see. They're moving Chance Nickel Clockstart into the halves for this coming weekend's match. And it's been a long time since Chance has been playing in the halves. That's what type of trouble they're in right now. So really sad for the Warriors. A season that they thought was going to be really special because it's looking like an uphill battle from this point forward. But Roosters, wow, 38-18, that's impressive. Titans 20, Cowboys 18. Even with the Fifita news at that time being that he was leaving to go to the Chooks, the Titans showed heart. They showed perseverance. You know what they showed, Shedheads? They showed Desi Hasler's imprint on this team. The problem for Des is no matter what imprint he's leaving right now, guys are dropping like flies. You've got both your starting halves out now. It is looking like a tough road ahead for a club that really is showing something. They were showing something when I was sitting in, the president's box watching the match a few weeks ago against Manly. I really thought that they had a chance. And if it wasn't for a Tanner Boyd, regrettable pass that he made, they could have won that match. So they've been close for a while, but you cannot lose your starting halves. And I think Kieran Foran is such a heartbeat on that team. It's just good news that his I'm going to say the word again, hamstring dilemma is only going to be a couple of weeks. But that being said, they're still in trouble. And, it's really sad that it's taking place like this because they were really, really, really coming. I'm saying they've played some really, really good footy the last few weeks. And I don't know if they can continue to sustain that with the lack of strike in the halves for the next couple of weeks. We'll see. Maybe Jaden Campbell coming back hopefully soon can help, get them buoyed over this time. But that is something to watch. But the Cowboys, here's a club that, again, look like a top four side to start the season. And now, thank gosh they're up in Townsville, which I heard somebody say, because the pressure cooker would be immense on Todd Payton. Because I don't know, and I love Todd Payton. I think he's a good coach. But something's going on with the Cows. Because they've got so much strike, and with the roster that they have, there's no reason that they should be losing these games right now. There's just no reason for it. Unless there's something going on in the Sheds we don't know about. And I try to get the top story here on Outside the Sheds, but nothing adds up. Why they're playing the type of footy, the way they're playing, the footy that they're playing. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes forward for the Cows because they really have to win and win now. The Warriors, they're getting to that point where a couple more losses and they're going to lose all type of contact with the top 8. And that's when teams you start seeing spiral down the drain and they give up. And that's when you see what type of a voice a coach has in the locker room, in the Sheds, if that team even continues to listen to him. So it's really going to be some telling time coming up these next 2 to 3 weeks for the Cows and the Warriors. But good victory for the Titans. Unfortunately, I think it might be one of their last victories for a few weeks with the loss that they had from that match. Now, round 10 was Ham-Strung, to put it plain and simple. I had to do it. Shedheads. How often am I going to be able to use that? That was gold right there. But it was. Some of the star marquee names on rosters went down for the same reason. And it was baffling. I couldn't believe that I was watching these guys go down one after the other, and I wasn't the only one, because if you listen to the announcers calling those matches, they were blown away as well. But let's go over this that just happened. Nathan Cleary, the re-aggravation of that hammy, is now out 8 to 10 weeks, and it might be 8 to 12. Tom Trbojevic, hamstring, 7 to 8 weeks. And again, like I said earlier in the podcast, it makes you start to wonder if it's time for Turbo to be taken out of the fullback position and possibly put in the centers. Because I just don't know if he can do the amount of running that he does. Even though you want him to touch the ball all the time, I don't know what you do, because he cannot stay healthy. Him and Cleary are probably going to miss all of the Origin series. The only person that's more blue about this is Madge McGuire, because two guys that he was hoping to count on are not going to be there. They say that possibly Turbo could be rushed back, possibly for Game 3 of Origin. But let me ask you a question. If you're Manly and this is your investment, do you really want to see Turbo go and play a match right after coming back and being checked off as, okay, you're good to go to play Origin? I don't know about that. I would really, really, really question that. But you got to wonder what Manly's got to do, because they just can't count on Tom Trbojevic week in and week out. He's fragile, or fragile, no matter how you want to say it. it is a problem. Kieran Foran, hamstring, 2 to 3 weeks. That is very, very lucky for Gold Coast because you have no idea when that word hamstring comes up. How long is the guy going to be out? And watching Kieran hobble to the sideline, you just didn't know. I think the only positive for them is that AJ Brimson isn't a hamstring. But I think that groin issue that he had that occurred, I think he had a slight twinge in his hammy. If you watch the match, he kind of grabs back for that hamstring about 2 to 3 minutes before he hurts his groin. And you wonder if he changed the way that he was running because of that tweak or that tinge that he might have felt in the back of his hamstring. But we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks for possibly, easily, to me, the best player all season for the Gold Coast Titans in AJ Brimson. That's why I said it's so important for Jaden Campbell to get back ASAP, or as soon as they can get him back on the field, because the loss of AJ Brimson is, you can't put it to words what that's going to mean to the Gold Coast Titans. Phil Sammy, hamstring, 4 to 5 weeks as well. I don't know what's going on. I did listen to Mark Carroll say something that I really think it might be a true statement. The guy owns a gym. He runs a gym. He's a manly great. He said that he thinks that the training that these guys do with a lot of the squats and all the downloads that they put on the legs, where these guys just have these tree trunks for legs. He says he thinks that this is the problem. The lower back is overtrained and it leads to, here we go, the hamstring. And I know when people do squats, they do it for that explosion. But where are you really exploding if you're blowing out your hamstring? Not on the field. That's where it's happening. So, I don't know. It's really tough for me to think what you can do. But I think you have to really put into words that there is a problem. And you have to look at possibly is it in what some of these teams do in the lifting process to do the loading that they do on the legs. Because there's got to be something. I'm saying these guys are some of the best trained athletes in the world. And for the hammy to just keep going out like this for some of the marquee players, it's sad to see. And the people that really, really suffer are us, the fans of the game who want to see these guys out there. So the Ham-Strung round is one we're not going to forget for a very, very long time. Now, one of the cool things about this last round is that we had some big key matchups in the top 4. One was the Dolphins against the Sea Eagles. You knew it was going to be a tough sled for Manly to go up to try to beat the Finns at Suncorp. And again, Manly gets an early lead. This has got to be something that's really worrisome for Manly fans. It's that they get leads and can't stay on top of teams once they get it. And I know it was not a 10, 15, 16, 20-point lead like maybe in the past, but it still was a lead that Manly once again gave up the lead. And the problem for Manly is in a couple of weeks, you know who's leaving, DCE, the guy that kind of holds this together. So now what you're going to be stuck with, and I know that sounds harsh, but that means that Luke Brooks is going to be running the club from the halves position. And I don't know if you guys have watched the last few years of Luke Brooks with the West Tigers, but that could be a problem. This isn't his team. It's DCE's team. So I don't know if Luke has gotten the respect inside the sheds yet. The guys are ready to listen to him be the field general for Manly. Because truthfully, he wasn't the field general for the West Tigers. He's a quiet dude. And that's okay. You don't have to be demonstrative. But to have guys follow you through a brick wall, you got to have that it factor. I know a lot of times people said that, Luke Brooks was the next Joey Johns on the horizon. That really hasn't panned out, has it, Shedheads? So it's going to be interesting how that happens. But what we're talking about right now is another lead lost by Manly. And then after Turbo and Saab went down, was there anybody watching that match that thought the Manly was going to prevail? I know I didn't. I knew that for sure the Finns were going to ride them out and take them home. Because right now, the Dolphins have the mentality of Wayne Bennett. And that is not to panic, not to go too fast, not to go too slow, but almost like a crocodile, just keep pulling them out to the deep water and drown them slowly if you can. Still have some strike occasionally because you don't want to get bit by a croc or get hit by its tail. But let's just do this methodically. Let's take them out. Let's move them down. And that's what happened. That's what happened. And they've got the hammer, the cheetah, whatever you want to say. Tabadai Fido comes back this coming week. So you really have to think the Dolphins are really set for a run this season. They did a run last year. They just couldn't fully bring it out in the end. But Clint Eastwood's got his guys really, really moving. And it's going to be really, really interesting to know how this team goes the rest of the season. Now, the other big matchup was 1 against 2. Like I told you guys last week, the match of the round, Sharkies versus the Storm down in Melbourne. And it looked like, I was just peeking, just waiting for that game, right? And then the word came out that Nico was out. And I was like, what? Because, with Trindle already out from his indiscretion, you're already playing with one rookie half with Nico Hines. And I've got to tell you, Shedheads, Daniel Atkinson, his third start, is cooler than the other side of the pillow. God rest your soul, Stuart Scott. Shout out to Stuart. But Daniel Atkinson playing almost as the only real half in the game just kept Cronulla grinding. And I have to admit to you, besides the fluke run-in dangerous contact that they said happened to him on the kick, which thank gosh the Storm fought, they won, because no one thought that was dangerous. Okay, Daniel Atkinson is also an incredible actor besides being a good half. Anyway, the guy played a great game, but I will tell you, it's one of the few times I have seen the Melbourne Storm look tired. And they just had to keep tackling those big boys from Cronulla who just kept rolling at him, kept rolling on him. And, yes, the Storm did what the Storm normally do and made it a game, but again, here comes Daniel Atkinson slotting the field goal. It was impressive. One of the first scalps that the Sharks have had for a top 4 club, beating a club in the top 4 for a very, very long time. And you just have to really wonder if Cronulla is starting to experience a special season. I'm not saying right now we're going to all turn the lights on in the Shire, but you've got to be proud of this team right now. The only problem for the Sharks is that it doesn't let up because Magic Round, guess what? They've got, to me, the form team of the competition with the Sydney Roosters. And I'm really, really excited, but there's still rumblings that maybe Nico doesn't play that game as well. They're going to have Nico on the side. No matter how well Daniel Atkinson has been playing, you just can't take on the Roosters squad that's playing the type of footy they're playing right now. Just can't do it. And we're going to find out sooner than later. We're going to find out in about, 48 hours. So great victories for the Finns and for the Sharks to keep their title aspirations a-chugging. Now, Magic Round. Where do I even start with Magic Round? First off, I'll say I'm a bucket list guy, kinda. I kind of got thrown off when my number one thing on my bucket list, which I think I've talked about on this show before, was getting in the cage with the Great White Sharks, which I did off of Port Lincoln in South Australia. And it was exactly what you thought it was going to be. It was a moment where I was like, oh my God, I can't do this, to, change that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this, to, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, to, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. And, Mrs. Shedadamas, she's crazy, and crazy in a good way, in the standpoint that she wasn't going to get in the cage, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, she's like, oh, why not? Let's do this. She's in the cage with me. So, that was my number one thing on the bucket list. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd get back and do it again. So when that happens to you and you're not close to, how should I say, pushing daisies, what do? Well, you start looking at other things you would like to add to the bucket list. And so I'm going to tell you right now, Shedheads, going to Magic Round in Brisbane is now been added to my bucket list. I know that my life, again, has taken another step to greatness when I downed that first schooner. Are you ready? At the Caxton Hotel. That's right. The same place that almost broke out into a riot because of Fletch and Hindy. I cannot wait to have a pint at the Caxton Hotel. Now, it isn't happening this year because I just got back from Australia. But it's just got that magic about it. And I guess that's why they call it Magic Round. Because Brisbane turns up like no other place for this. I am so happy the NRL changed their plan where they were thinking about possibly moving Magic Round every 2-3 years, whatever, moving it all around the place. I don't think you touch it. You leave it at Suncorp. You leave it in Brisbane. Make it a pilgrimage for people. Because look at me. I want to make a pilgrimage 17, 18 hours away to make that weekend a part of my bucket list of rugby league. I can only kind of compare Magic Round to when Mr. Shedadamas and I went down to the Auckland Nines in Auckland and all the clubs being right there. The only difference is not all the best players are playing. So you got to see a lot of the young guns come in. That first year, remember, they actually had, each team had an old veteran. And I remember when Brad Fittler intercepted a cutout pass and took it the whole length of the field before both of his hamstrings were left at about the 20. No, I'm joking. Sorry, Fittler. You were fine. You didn't play after that game, but you did get a try. So that anticipation never left you, Bradley. But that's the only thing I can kind of compare it to is that buzz that an entire city gets to hold and hold tight. And it is going to be something special again. We've got a couple of key matchups that's going to take place. I cannot wait for, like we just talked about, the Roosters and the Sharks to go one-on-one with the great ones being themselves. So if you get a chance, Shedheads, make sure you put this on your bucket list like I have. Go to Magic Round. It's going to be fun. I've got a buzz. Like I said, it's my second favorite round after, what am I trying to say? Oh my gosh, I just had a brain. Anzac Round. Thank you very much. So get out there. Let's push this through because it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm going to be watching. I know you will be too. Now, I ended the show with a lot of anticipation, right? Last week, where we were talking about David Fifita. As we recorded the podcast, no news had come down yet. It looked like he was leaning towards the Penrith Panthers. That did not happen because not just a matter of hours after we recorded the podcast, he said to Uncle Nick, "I'm coming to be a Chook." All right? Wow. Once again, the Roosters get their man. Once again, the big club gets the big fish, and the poor Gold Coast Titans are left holding the bag, right? But Desi Hazard played it pretty tight to the vest, said, we're just going to move on, and, we're just taking this. But the thing about Desi when that started coming out was there was no look in his eye like being upset or anything. Well, word comes out that Desi goes to lunch with David Fifita and CEO Steve Mitchell for the Titans. And I think they probably pushed their ploy of why you don't want to leave Gold Coast. Well, lo and behold, earlier this week, David Fifita got on the hotline to Uncle Nick and said he's starting to wonder and question his decision to come to the Chooks. Maybe this isn't what I want to do. Well, Nick Politis is not used to people backflipping on him. He's not used to people saying no to him. And, he hung up the phone, let that mull over, and he came back. We don't really know what else happened behind the scenes. But the Roosters pulled their deal for David Fifita. And now David Fifita is going to be a Gold Coast Titan for the 2025, 2026. Let me see if I can say that right. 2025, 2026 seasons. And it's wow. Like, again, you do not see people backflip on Uncle Nick or the Chooks. The Chooks now have missed a few guys now. Dane Gagai gave him the don't argue. David Fifita now, the don't argue. Listen, Nick Politis is not going to stop by getting his guy. But the problem with this move now is they went all in to get David Fifita. And then what they did was they ostracized a little bit of a guy in Angus Crichton who's been playing some of his best footy in a couple of years. And Angus Crichton came out and said, listen, I'm not giving up my side of the field for anybody. Right? Not happening. And guess what he should have said? Exactly that. Exactly that. But now the Chooks have to turn and look inward to try to calm down the situation with Angus Crichton, get him in the right state of mind. Because let me tell you something, the Penrith Panthers are probably going to look at him, and they're going to make a deal. And the last thing you need is for Angus Crichton to say, all right, I'll fix you guys. You didn't even want me first. I'm going to go to a club that wants me. We don't know if that's what's going to happen. But that's the danger you play by trying to upgrade when you still have somebody that's playing some good footy, right? And I don't know. I don't know what to tell you because, yes, Gold Coast has got their guy. Yes, the Roosters did not get their guy. But I don't think this is a bad thing for everybody. I don't think either move was bad because I think if the Titans don't get David Fifita, they use that money they were going to pay him and go out and look at halves, which they need to do. And I think if the Chooks get him, they got David Fifita. So I just think it blew me away when I heard that he had backflipped on Uncle Nick and was going to stay with the Gold Coast Titans because I don't think we've had this type of backflip since DCE, Daly Cherry Evans. Before round 10 pulled back and said he was not going to go up to the Gold Coast Titans and was going to stay at Manly. So big news, and congratulations to the Titans for keeping their marquee man. Now, with Russell Crowe arriving back in Australia, and when Rusty comes back, things are going to happen. It looks like the South Sydney Rabbitohs are about ready to put pen to paper. Some people say it's already a done deal. That it's going to be a 3-year deal for Wayne Bennett to come back to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Right. I don't even know why I paused that long because I think everyone thinks it's a foregone conclusion. But it looks like Wayne Bennett's going to be back. 3-year deal, $1 million to $1 million plus. And let's just hope that if he does come back, that the succession plan does not upset Clint Eastwood and that he wants it to happen because we saw what happened when the succession plan happened this last time. They just got done getting rid of the coach that was supposed to take the place of Wayne Bennett. So he's back, it looks like, unless there's something that happens at a last moment. It sounds like it's already inked. We're just waiting for the ink to dry. I think they're going to break it during Magic Round. Either way, it looks like the future of the South Sydney Rabbitohs is going to ride in on a horse that Wayne Bennett's riding. So, big news. Probably some of the best news that South Sydney's had for a while. Let's see if this sparks the team for the rest of the season. Speaking of deals, big deal coming up for the nation's capital. Ricky Stuart has now signed a 4-year deal to stay with the Canberra Raiders, and he's going to help, how should I say, bring in the new baby greens. You like how I say that? Baby greens, the most healthy, right? Chevy Stewart, Ethan Strange, incoming Ethan Sanders from the Eels. But the good thing about this for Canberra is Canberra is not a place on the map where players just run to because of the weather. It's just not a special place in a lot of people's minds to go down there and to play their footy, right? But with Ricky and the chance to play under Ricky Stuart, makes it a little bit more appealing to go out and get players. I'm saying perfect example is Ethan Sanders coming in from the Parramatta Eels next season. So I think this is a brilliant move. I think it's a move that is a win-win, especially for Canberra and for Ricky Stewart, because I don't think Ricky wants to leave. It'll be his 16th year with the club, from playing with the club to now coaching the club since 2014. So, hey, congratulations to the Raiders. I have to admit, I'm really, really excited to see what Sticky does with the Baby Greens, with this young crew that's coming in. Because the Ethan and Ethan show is going to be a great halves pairing for years to come if the boys stay healthy. And I know everyone's saying that Chevy Stewart, even though he's kind of had a couple of tough games, and I'm excited to see Jordan Rapana back this week, but they say he's going to be a brilliant fullback as well. So it looks like their spine is set, and I can't think of a better coach than Ricky Stewart to help get them into the best shape and get them firing. So I think you have a lot of positive coming Green Machine way in the coming future with this signing of Ricky Stewart. Now, Shedheads, we're going to talk about it. I'm a blue and maroon central. I don't care if it's the fellas. I don't care if it's the ladies. It is State of Origin. And State of Origin, the pinnacle of the rugby league world, the top, the zenith, the Mount Kilimanjaro, as I should say. It kicks off in a matter of hours. Blues, Maroons, Women's State of Origin 2024, kicking off at Suncorp Stadium tonight. It is going to be a fascinating thing to watch. I'm very, very happy that the ladies are getting 3 games. They've deserved to have had a 3-game series for a number of years. I'm happy the NRL, all the matters that be, Ample, whoever you want to say, said, hey, it's time. Let the ladies have 3 games so we actually have a true champion, because they deserve that. They put in the same type of hard work as the guys do. The ladies' game is really coming to the forefront. And I will tell you something, Shedheads. I enjoy watching the ladies because there's not all the wrestle. They make solid tackles, they get back 10, and they go about it again. Maybe I should write a song about that. Anyway, it's a good game. It maybe isn't done at the pace of the guys, but you've got some stars out there. You got some real stars to watch. Now, what surprises me is that the Blues have dropped Jesse Southwell, the 2-time halfback, premiership halfback for the Newcastle Knights. And that really shocks me because to me, Jesse Southwell was, one of the best halves, if not the best half in the competition. I'm saying what she's done. I don't know what's going on there. This sounds like a little drama behind closed doors. There was less, rumblings that they needed a better kicking game. But I don't know. I think that's a little bit strange. And I think that decision could prove costly for the Blues. I think when you look at the rosters, the Blues looks, packed, right? Isabel Kelly, Jess Surgis. But I think that they need that half to drive them around the field. And we'll see. It's only game 1. We'll see if they make a change of heart for game 2. But Jesse Southwell being left out of the club, I think, could be a major component in the decision and the deciding factor for game 1 of the Women's State of Origin. So, matter of hours, that's coming on, I think 4:45 my time in the morning. I will not be staying up because I'm on a plane tomorrow. The Shedadamas is worldwide, fellas and ladies and gents, worldwide. So I'm back on a plane tomorrow. So State of Origin, looking forward to it. Maybe I'll catch it tomorrow morning, but I definitely will watch it tomorrow at some point. Now, round 11, Magic Round. We just talked about it. Let's go down and talk about some of these matches. We had a good run last week. Let me go back and look at this again, Shedheads. Let me go back and look at this. Okay, we didn't get that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of 8, Shedheads. 7 of 8. The rebound is complete. We're back in the winning column. We just made the mortgage payment because of that last round. 7 of 8. Been a long time since we went 7 of 8. We needed to go 7 of 8, and we did do that. But kicking off Magic Round Friday night, Bulldogs versus the Raiders. I think that the news coming out was done at the right time, at the precise moment for the Canberra Raiders to get that team pumped up, that Ricky was going nowhere. I got the Raiders riding that momentum and beating the Bulldogs to kick off Magic Round. Sea Eagles versus the Broncos. Without Saab, without Turbo, playing at Suncorp. To me, it's a no-brainer. Broncos, Jock Madden back in the halves to pair with Ezra. I just think the Broncs are going to have too much, and they're going to want to put on a show to close out Friday night at Suncorp. I got the Broncos. Saturday, Knights versus the Titans. Yes, I know that the Titans have played well lately. I know that, shitheads. I know that. But they're not beating the Knights. The Knights, right now, Jack Cogger's back in the halves to partner with our boy Jackson Hastings. The Knights, to me, they're going to win this match. They're going to win this match. And I think the Titans will be valiant, but they just won't have enough strike to actually put a dent in Newcastle. Roosters versus the Sharks, the game everyone's talking about. We don't know for sure if Nico Hines is going to be in the halves, but I'm going to tell you something right now. Even if Nico is in the starting side, I do not think for a moment the Chooks are going to slow down. I think the Chooks are going to play another incredible match, and they get the victory over the Sharks. Cowboys versus the Rabbitohs. If it's not now, it's never. The Cows have to win this match. I know South Sydney has to rebound sometime. They will not lose every match for the rest of the season. But I don't think it starts this week. I think the Cows, desperation. And let me tell you something. If the Cows come out and drop an egg and lay an egg, and South Sydney beats them, the blowtorch is going to be, well, we know how Todd Payton's going to shave his goatee, and it's not going to be with a razor. It's going to be fire, because the blowtorch will be on hard for him and the Cows if they do not get this victory over South Sydney. But I've got them winning it. I'm taking the Cowboys over South Sydney. Sunday, Panthers versus the Warriors. Come on. No Sean Johnson in the club right now. I got the Panthers, even without Nathan Cleary. I think Jerome Luai steers the team around the park. And I think the Panthers just have too much right now for the Warriors. Eels versus the Storm. Wow. You really wanted to be the Eels the week after the Sharks debacle down in Melbourne? No, you don't. You don't want to be those guys. As a matter of fact, we should all be praying for them, because Cameron Munster's going to be home. He probably just wants to stay up at Brisbane after the match to just stay there until Origin camp. But Storm, to me, are going to put on a show as well. And then finally, to close out Magic Round, Dolphins versus the Tigers. Wayne Bennett playing against Benji Marshall, the old fella against the apprentice. No way. I know upsets happen in sports, but there's no way the Dolphins are going to lose to the Tigers up in Suncorp. They're going to put, again, a beating on the Tigers. And you just hope the West Tigers just can persevere and get through this moment until they can get some strike. They've got some players coming in next year. I don't think they'll finish with a wooden spoon, but they've got to keep playing. They just have to. But the Dolphins get this victory. Now, for our gun of the round, I've got to go back to that Roosters match. That, like I said, the best 20 minutes I've seen by a club for a very, very long time. Maybe not a player, again, Cleary in the grand final, but just as a club. And my gun of the round comes from that match. Dominic Young, locks flowing, 2 tries, 254 running meters, 5 line breaks, 9 tackle breaks, 1 tackle made. 1 tackle made, and he's my gun of the round. That's how impressive that guy was. He was out of control. The guy is special. The guy is special. And the combination he's got with Joey Manu on that right side is just elite. It's lethal. And I know Manu's not playing this week because of concussion protocol, but don't expect Dom Young to take his foot off the gas. He is still going to run like a man unchained, and he's going to just do some business, if you know what I mean. So congratulations, Dominic Young. It was so impressive to watch you this last round. It was something to behold. So congrats on that. Shedheads, again, take in Magic Round. It's going to be a fun round. Definitely watch the Ladies' State of Origin that starts here in a matter of hours. I think it's going to be something fun. The ladies, that buzz that's going to be in the air because of Magic Round being up at Suncorp. I think that the ladies are going to kick this off the right way, and it's going to be an exciting match for game 1 of State of Origin. But until next week, Shedheads, stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Come on, try to be nice to somebody besides the missus or the mister, no matter. We got plenty of female Shedheads out there. So until next week, see ya.
And that was another fantastic episode of Outside the Sheds with Corey Jackson, talking all things NRL and all things sports. So please remember to smash the subscribe button and share this with your family and friends and show them what Australian sport is all about.